Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at an aggro forest build. This has been used in some popular things, so I thought why not give it a go. This one is a little bit more late game than some of the more popular aggro forest decks, mainly using things like Wielder Prophecy just to really bolster your hand, and using Fashionista just to give you that little bit of edge you might need to remove some wards and that as well, which can come in quite handy. You're also running a single Cather because why not? Great buff and works pretty well, especially when you get to the point where you need it. Outside of that though, everything else is pretty stock standard, running a plenty of generation and buffs, along with basically anything else that can give you advantage, which is why we're running something like Magic Fairy. Gives you at least that little bit of edge to really push out your opponent sometimes. So hopefully you guys enjoy it and we'll get right into the video. Alright, first up we have Rune. This deck does fairly well against Rune. Rune is a little bit more of a late game deck, and really anything aggro is going to beat it out pretty quickly, regardless of what variation it's playing. I mean, Earth Rune can be a little bit more tricky, but really isn't that bad. So we start with a pretty average hand, not really getting anything too big or too small. Would have preferred some more of my 1-drops. Being able to throw those out early really do help. Or at least some decent fairy generation that wasn't just kind of secondary effects. But at least we get feeder out. I mean, we can at least start to roll some damage to the face. Our opponent does nothing for their first 2 turns. Absolutely nothing. It gives me at least a few options to go face. And really start to set up my board. Carl though, going to be a problem. That healing isn't going to be fun. Although our 1/4 does deal with that pretty effectively. We can even throw up a Brambles if we want to, or just go straight with Wielder Prophecy. Unfortunately, I wish I had played that first. I would have got the extra buff off it and got a little bit extra damage in. But I was debating on whether to go with Brambles or him, and he ended up winning out overall. Starseer's Telescope definitely pushing that healing. Not fun for me because healing makes my life difficult. I also probably should have thrown the buff onto the feeder. Would have made us at least get an extra draw, which would have worked out to give me at least some value out of that card. Because now all it really did was allow me to go for at least a little extra damage.
Are you defying me? Let's play.
So we can go fairly wide, set up our Brambles. This is a good time to set it up when we've got a wide board and have a few things that we can use.
You're done for.
We can also slam this to the face.
You'll like me after this.
Gives us a nice 5 damage this turn, leaving them on 9. Unless they deal with this board now, which I don't think they can really do on turn 5, they really look for a turn 6 clear normally. It's really going to be hard for them to actually win.
The dark won't hide you.
Especially when you got to play that 6/5 to trade. It's really got to hurt.
Sorry.
So we can go for 5 with the Evo. Luckily enough though, we can also get this 1/4 out, which means it will survive a clear, which is great. Of course the Evo would make it more difficult, but it'll still survive that as well. So this won't be completely cleared no matter what here.
Don't forget.
They'll at least have to leave up that 1-drop, and since we do have Fairy Driver in hand, we have a very easy way to go for storm damage, which is going to very easily close the game out for us. So it wouldn't have mattered if they did have a complete clear anyway. Being able to throw Fairy Driver, we could have easily pulled off another 8 damage. Instead we only need to pull off, 4, but why not throw all our fairies to the board while we're at it?
Make yourself useful.
That will kill the Rune player.
Impressive.
Very, very comfortably. Next up we have Portal. Portal, still pretty strong deck.
Time for me to prove myself.
Activate.
Definitely see Portal, Sword and Haven still sitting on top, especially after things like the Shadowverse Open, where we've seen those be extremely strong decks. Aggro Forest though is doing pretty well itself, so it's not too surprising that I'm doing pretty well with it. So we are going to get to throw that fairy down early, along with at least having something to deal with their 2-drops, which is great. Which means we will get at least a few damage to the face.
Join me on a musical journey.
Of course, Hamlin, duplicating cards. Not really too big a worry for us though. We can make our board a little bit wider. We can slam down a little bit more damage. And be pretty right. Brambles makes things a little more interesting. Opens up a whole new set of players next turn. And would actually let us trade with things fairly well on turn 4. But we may just decide to go face. I mean, who doesn't want face damage here? So we do have the brambles. And we can push out a pretty easy fairy whisper. Filling our hand with fairies. Making sure we have enough.
You're done for. Bad people are evil.
And getting our 4 damage to the face. They can't easily trade with these 1/1s, so they probably won't even try, at least not in any meaningful way.
Entirety said right. Not set to its counter.
And if they do, we just go for another flood, we throw out a little bit more damage, and we take them that way.
Coming at you.
Of course, this is going to be a pain. They have a fair bit of damage on board now, and they are going face. It's not something we can't answer. We just have to be creative. So we go for the Brambles creative play, setting us up nicely to be able to trade into these. Although it does mean we don't get to go face this turn.
I must rest.
But we can throw at least a couple more fairies down, filling our board up. And Brambles got refreshed, which is great. Having it at 2 is a lot better than where it was.
Too long now. I'm so sparkly.
So we don't want to get slammed too hard, which is why we trade. Take advantage of it. Plus it means the 3/1 becomes a target for anything they play. Deus Ex Machina, that's pretty okay. A single card to be played when we already have a great way to go face.
This machine-driven world must end.
So we can slam down Leaf Man, buff everything and defend them.
This ends here.
We can also throw down that Evo.
I'm so sparkly.
So we get a quite comfortable 8 damage, leaving them on 6. It's a very nice spot to be in when they can't use any kind of spell card to really deal damage to these effectively. And they weren't going to have much luck if they had Excel, because it would just be slammed into these and kill basically every single artifact that they could have taken major advantage out of. So it left us very comfortably with a very close to lethal position.
Buzzing, flitting insects.
And with this, we're even closer. I suppose we probably could have come up with a lethal if we had just traded a fairy, played a couple of fairies and went into our Beetle Warrior anyway, so this was just a little bit easier. And our final game is against Blood.
Time for me to prove myself.
Blood's one you don't see quite as often, but when you do see it, it can be quite devastating. Of course, this fairy deck doesn't give an inch when it comes to being aggressive, so it's going to be very interesting to see where this Bloodcraft player takes our game. It's going to come down to going first and what they have as the drops, and I unfortunately had no 1-drops. It really hurts, but the Blood player also with no 1-drops.
May the forest be at peace.
And now I get to hopefully start flooding with my fairies pretty early on, which is going to make it fairly hard on this Bloodcraft player.
I am a flower.
They are playing Actress, which indicates that they are neutral blood. Neutral blood being very different, I would say. I mean, I played the half-hybrid neutral blood recently, and that was okay, but this is just a straight-up neutral blood. So their aggression is going to be not really on the same level as this aggro forest at the moment. There's a little bit slower. We're really pushing everything by turn 5, they're kind of waiting until about turn 6 to do anything too big. As long as our board can stay here, we should be able to comfortably play Leaf Man next turn. can get a fair amount of damage onto their face.
I am a flower. I bloom on stage.
But they are going to clear at least 2 things with that. That gold has been a pretty big addition to a lot of classes now that I've noticed. Killing off anything with 1 health pretty quickly. But it's not something I'm willing to give up on. Not yet, anyway.
Hey, let's play.
So we get to slam these fairies,
Let's play.
along with a kind of beta warrior.
You're done for.
I do decide to leave the actress up here for the second,
And back I go.
at least so I can get something into the face. Although the actress's evolve is going to be hard to deal with, had to make a decision that was going to hopefully benefit me. You got to make these tough decisions sometimes to be able to go face.
Weakness the power.
They decided to use their actress's evo, which is fairly good, but they went face, which is probably a bad decision when you're leaving up a full board. So I do leave up a single fairy,
Let's play.
mainly because I just misplayed and played them in the wrong order, but it also works pretty well because it means they can target it with a spell, which means I can hopefully attract some kind of damage to it.
Can you hear it?
A shining Bellringer though. I mean, if Blood was going to play any spell, that was a pretty good one. Doing self damage makes it a fair bit easier for me to kill them. Again, Shining Bellringer is an interesting card, because no matter where that goes, it's going to be awkward to get rid of and go for lethal. But the Emperor at least tries to set us up a little bit.
Just a little withered.
I do also have to use this 3/3 though to hit the Bellringer. I don't really have any other options available to me. And there is old Blood King, so this is where things get a little scary. They can go fairly hard with this. Since they did manage to get to turn 7, it's not surprising that this is the play they went for. Gift of Blood King, lowering them even further. Is that the risk they want to take though?
Come on! Ow!
Because they are out of damage and sent it all face. I mean, since Emperor's up, I guess they didn't really have a choice, but...
Your strength.
Whew, very, very close. They only need a little bit more damage. A couple of Talons could have been the death of me if they had the right combination, so... So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. This deck's pretty okay, honestly. You could probably make some adjustments and go more aggressive, but I've been pretty comfortable so far. The only card I've been a bit iffy on is Fashionista. It comes in handy when you do come up against a big ward like Heavenly Knight that you want to clear effectively, then it can come in good handy, but if you're getting that late into the game anyway, this deck kind of falls off, so... Not sure whether I want to keep that around. May decide to put in something a little bit more effective. Not really sure what to go with yet, but definitely considering putting something in that place. So if you did enjoy the video, hit that like button. You can subscribe for more content, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.